On Thursday, two former Democratic members of the Federal Trade Commission filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for firing them last week. The two commissioners, Rebecca Kelly Slaughter and Alvaro Bedoya, are suing in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia with the goal of reversing their terminations. They argue that the Trump administration violated federal law when it fired them without cause. The FTC is an independent agency that protects consumers and promotes competition by enforcing antitrust and consumer protection laws and combating unfair or deceptive business practices. And traditionally, the FTC has been a bipartisan commission. It's usually run by 3 members from the president's own party, with 2 members from the opposing party. Trump's move to oust both Democratic members is widely viewed as an effort to exert power over the agency, which is supposed to operate independently of the administration. During the Biden administration, the FTC took on big business, centering the interests of American consumers and attempting to rein in corporate monopolies that have undermined market competition. Indeed, some of the biggest investigations and enforcement actions that the FTC undertook during the Biden administration happened to involve several corporate giants whose owners are the very same billionaires who stood behind Donald Trump at his January inauguration, folks like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos. In their lawsuit against the Trump administration, lawyers for Ms. Slaughter and Mr. Bedoya cited a 1935 Supreme Court precedent, Humphrey's Executor, that holds that the president may not fire independent regulatory board members over mere policy disagreements. In an interview with Ali Velshi last weekend, the former FTC chair, Lina Khan, who resigned when Trump took office, said, quote, "This move is blatantly illegal." Joining me now to discuss this is Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, one of the 2 FTC commissioners fired by Trump last week. Ms. Slaughter, what are you hoping to achieve in this case against the Trump administration?
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks for having me. I think at the end of the day, we're hoping to vindicate the law that Congress passed. You mentioned earlier that by tradition, 3 members of the FTC come from the president's party and 2 from the opposite party. That's not tradition. That's the statute. Congress made the rule that no more than 3 members of the FTC can be from the same political party. They designed the institution to be bipartisan, and we want to vindicate the congressional intent, what has been the law for 111 years. And why do we want to vindicate it? Because we want to make sure that the FTC is working for the American people and not for billion-dollar corporations and billionaires themselves who are trying to get the president to do them favors.
So the lawsuit cites an almost 90-year-old precedent, Humphrey's Executor. This case was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1935. And in that case, the court wrote this about the Federal Trade Commission. Quote, "To ensure the independence, it is necessary and proper to provide that commissioners should be removed only for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office." This is a court now that doesn't seem to be especially restrained by precedent. Are you confident that if your case gets to the United States Supreme Court, that they are going to abide by what the court did in 1935 in Humphrey's Executor?
Well, I'm confident that they are going to uphold the statute at the end of the day, less because of the precedent, which is real and has stood the test of 90 years, but also because that precedent has been the foundation for not only all of the work of the FTC, but the myriad other federal agencies that are similarly constructed, multi-member commissions that are bipartisan. Think the Fed, the SEC, the CFTC, the FCC. It sounds like alphabet soup, but these are the institutions that are operating to ensure that the law is administered without fear or favor and to provide continuity and stability to American markets and protection for the American people, which at the end of the day is the most important thing.
Well, it's a terrific point that this is not just about the FTC, but in fact, these prohibitions on executive removal affect all of these other alphabet agencies that we rely on to structure all aspects of our lives. Can you talk about this effort to remove agency commissioners, the people who run independent agencies? How would you explain this to the lay audience member? Why should they care about whether or not the president is removing these individuals without cause?
Well, because what people care about is making sure that the government is on their side. And what having independent agencies do is ensure that commissioners like myself can't be removed or act out of fear of removal for failure to do a favor for the president's corporate cronies. And that's true whether we're talking about Democratic or Republican commissioners, a Democratic or Republican president. And in fact, the message that the president sent by trying to remove myself and Commissioner Bedoya was a strong one to the Republican members of the commission, too. If I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to boot you, even though the law says that I can't do that.
Right, so just last month, the Trump administration's acting Solicitor General, Sarah Harris, sent a letter to a congressional committee on the judiciary. And in that letter, she stated that Trump's Justice Department had decided that the statutory protections in the Federal Trade Commission Act are unconstitutional and that the U.S. Department of Justice will no longer defend them in court. What do you make of this proclamation from a high-ranking member of the Justice Department that the Justice Department will no longer honor these longstanding protections for your agency?
Well, it's a pretty aggressive assault on the separation of powers, on Congress, and on the people fundamentally that our agencies were designed to serve and have been serving for over 100 years.
All right, that is a lot to say. You've got a lot going on, Commissioner Slaughter, and we thank you for coming in this morning to help explain and make sense of all of this for our audience. Thank you.